Hey guys, welcome to No Filters, Just Freedom, the show for people who are ready to stop shrinking, start rising, and live with unapologetic audacity. My name is Jasmine, I'm a life coach, and I'm here to guide us all through this journey of bold, authentic living.
Welcome back, guys. Raise your hand if you've ever taken a personality test and thought, okay, cool, I'm a golden retriever with chaotic energy. But now what? We live in a world where you can take a quiz to find out which kitchen appliance matches your soul, but still feel completely lost about our actual strengths, blind spots, and why we keep hitting the same walls in our careers and relationships. Here's the truth. Most personality tests are useless, but the right ones can help you land your dream job, fix your relationships, and finally understand why you keep burning out. Today, we're cutting through the BuzzFeed nonsense and talking about the tests worth your time and how to use them to actually change your life. While short online tests that tell you what Disney princess you are can be fun, there's a dark side to them. First, there are 3 big lies society wants us to believe about personality tests. First, your personality is fixed. Guys, that's scientifically untrue, nor does it actually make any intellectual sense. We are complex creatures with a lot of things going on in our minds, with a lot of emotions, and made up of our past experiences and so much more. So who you are and your personality type can't be stagnant. It doesn't make any sense. You are shaped by the experiences that you've had and the lifestyle that you've lived, and for good or bad, toxicness that you've had to overcome in your life. All of that molds you into who you are. So you're not just as simple as who you are in this one moment. We are constantly changing. We are constantly moving. We are constantly growing and or falling short of something to then have to find a new way to reach that goal. So no, your personality is not fixed, nor will it ever be fixed. And if someone tells you that, it's the biggest lie they could tell you. They're trying to dim your light. The second lie is that one test can define you. Again, we are complex creatures. One thing cannot tell you who you are. You need multiple lenses because we are large, multiple creatures. Okay? Again, it's just like the first one. We are more than just this moment that we're in. And one test cannot show you your entire being. You need a few of them to see different perspectives and then to see which ones overlap and everything that goes along with it. So deciding to only do one test, whether or not it's a fun online test or using one of the really authentic ones, it doesn't matter. One is never going to be enough. And lastly, knowing your type automatically means that you can change. It's just not true. Okay, you're not going to change just because you know your type or whatever assessment that it says, even a good assessment. Like you may know your Myers-Briggs 4 letters, but if you're not doing anything with it, you're not actually changing. Okay, actually knowing your type is only step 1 in the process. Okay, without the right framework, you're just collecting labels, not actually creating change. And that's the whole point of the appropriate personality test, is that they're supposed to help you grow. They're supposed to help you push forward. They're supposed to help you try to be more than you already are. And if they're not doing that, if you're just taking them and collecting these things, whether or not they're labels or writing them down and just being like, yeah, I took this, it's cool, this is what I am, you're not actually doing yourself any good. You're doing yourself a disservice for not being the best and most authentic person you can be. Okay? So it's our job to notice the red flags of all of these bogus tests and these lies that are dimming our light. Okay? First, you want to stay away from what's considered the Barnum effect. Okay? The effect where you have vague statements that apply to anyone. Things like, you sometimes enjoy alone time, but also like people. Well, duh, we're human, okay? Whether you're an introvert or extrovert. The answer is not whether or not I want to hang out and I sometimes like people. The issue is how much, okay? If you're extroverted, you prefer to be with people, but you still need alone time. And if you're an introvert, you need more alone time than socializing with people. Either way, that vague statement applies to everybody. And when you take a test and it gives you something like that, it creates this false sense of illusion where you're like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm totally like that. Well, yeah, so is the rest of the 7.8 billion people in this world. Like, that's just kind of how that works, And so you want to stay away from those things because they can create all kinds of drama and all kinds of problems, and you're missing out on what could actually be real growth. Then you want to stay away from what can be called the halo trap, something that makes you feel special without giving you real insights, something that makes you feel good but doesn't actually help you grow. Okay? Things that make you feel seen, that are like, oh man, that person really knows who I am, okay? That's like you enjoy long walks on the beach and taking a moment to see the sunrise. And you're like, yeah, I totally do. But you know what? Most people that enjoy nature do. So if it asked you any questions about whether or not, you see those tests and it's like, well, do you prefer the mountains or the beach? And you're like, oh, I prefer the beach. And then all of a sudden they're like, you love long walks on the beach. Well, yes, I do. I told you that. I told you I prefer the beach, but the answer made you feel seen. It made you feel important. It made you feel loved. And that is a dangerous thing because we are all craving to be seen and loved as people. And so to perpetuate that feeling can be dangerous. It's setting us up for failure, and that's just not okay, especially with something that we want to trust, we want to get better in, and we want to learn about ourselves as a whole. All you're doing is setting me up for failure, and that's not okay. You also want to stay away from the label illusion, where you're putting yourself into boxes that actually don't translate into action, okay? You don't want to just say, oh, this is what I am, My Myers-Briggs, me personally, I'm an ENTP. Bet. What does that mean? I don't know. It's almost like your horoscope, where you're like, I'm an Aries. Okay, cool. What does that mean? I don't know. I was born between these dates, and apparently I'm a fire sign, and I'm supposed to be intense. Maybe I am intense. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Well, do you know anything else that goes along with it? No. I just know what that is. You don't want to box yourself into something for a label just because, okay? You also want to make sure when they give you these labels, they give you action steps to go with it, okay? So when there's no action-based future steps, it's just an illusion to make you think that you can grow into something that you have no ability to grow into, okay? So it tells you what you are, but it doesn't tell you where you can go from there, all right? And that's a big deal, because what am I supposed to do with just this information you just dropped in my lap? Am I supposed to know how to implement it in my life? Am I supposed to know how to grow and profit off this information? Of course not. If I knew the answer to that, I would have taken the freaking test. That's how that works. I would have, done something different or been in a different light if I actually knew how to do this. So I'm looking at you trying to get the help that I need, and you didn't actually give me any help. Okay, that is a red flag in a test. Also, you have the profit motive, okay? When it's designed to go viral, but not actually help you grow. Things created by bloggers, not researchers, okay? It's fun, it's cool, we enjoy them. You want to know what animal you are or what Avengers character you are and all those things. And, it can be really fun. I'm happy to say that I got Thor, okay, as an Avenger character, which makes me feel really good and seen because I'm like Thor, I'm crazy and I can kind of be funny and I can be intense and I just want to fight things. It's awesome. It made me feel special. But the point is, it didn't actually tell me how to grow. It didn't tell me what to do with anything, and it was something a blogger created. There was no research behind it. There was no intention behind it. It was just fun. And when things go viral and they're fun, you make money. That's how that works. It's a very simple concept for people that are content creators that do things. Even doing a podcast, you can get sponsors, you get listeners, you get sponsors, you make money. Okay, things are profit based, but when there's no research behind it, when it's just a he said, she said type vibe, you're missing out. It's a red flag that personality test is incomplete. It's not actually helping you. It was more of a waste of time than anything else. Okay, and lastly, you want to protect yourself from the confirmation bias, which is kind of a culmination of everything we were just talking about. The confirmation bias tells you what you want to hear, but it never mentions any gray areas or limitations. Okay, so I feel good with the halo effect, and I feel seen, and I feel loved, and I've got this label with an illusion, and I now know who I am, but I have no action steps. And I'm like, oh, well, that definitely makes me feel, yeah, that's totally who I am. Yeah, this makes sense. This is, what I expected myself to be, which is cool. But what does that mean? How do you get better? How do you grow? Are there any bad sides to being who you are? And you know what? I don't say that in a disrespectful manner. I mean that in the sense of we all have limitations. We all have gray areas. We all have strengths and weaknesses. And a fun personality test will just tell you all the good stuff about you. It'll tell you all the things that are like, you do this well, and these things make you happy, and your friends love you for this, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's great. But we're not perfect individuals. So is there anything other than that? Or just, look, you're great. That's the thing we have to pay attention to. That's the red flag. I can be told that I'm great all the time, but I can't grow if I don't know where to strengthen my weaknesses. Okay? I can't grow if I don't know that I'm short in some area. So long story short, look for tests that are backed by research, that tell you what to do with the results, and are reliable enough for you to get the same result multiple times. That's a big deal, okay? Because a lot of these fun tests, you can take the test and it's cool, but you can change one idea. You know what? I changed my mind. I think I really do like the mountains over the beach. Well, all of a sudden, now you have a whole new personality type. You don't want that test. You want one where you can take it over and over again and get the same result. Maybe it's tweaked slightly, but you're in the same boat, okay? Taking the wrong test is worse than taking none at all. Okay, it gives you a false confidence that prevents growth. That's a really big deal. You need to understand. Taking the wrong test is worse than taking none at all. Okay, ignorance is bliss at this point, because you're just wasting your time and wasting your potential if you take the wrong one and try to focus in the wrong direction. So just don't do any at all if you can't pick the right one. So let's talk about tests that actually deliver. Okay, the first one is the Big 5 ocean test. Okay, and that's considered the gold standard test in how they do personality tests. Okay, it's respected by all psychologists, and it's because it has years of data that is consistent across all cultures. Okay, I mean, they have studied it, they have put it down and around, and it's been around for like 75, 80 years. Okay, they have put in the work to make this test be real. And so, of course, it's authentic. Of course, that's how it works, okay? It goes based on different spectrums of who you can be. They put your personality type into 5 major categories, okay? And those categories are openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, okay? And each one of those is on a spectrum. So you get to decide if you're high or low in that thing, and that spectrum will then tell you how to interpret your score for whether or not you're struggling in one or the other, whether you're high and low in something. So if you're high in agreeableness, you tend to be more flexible and cool, but you might not know how to say no to people. Okay, and if you're high in neuroticism, you might make amazing structure, and you might have the best to-do list and things for people, and everything is just very type A structured, which is beautiful for those of us like me that have no structure in our lives and we need a planner. Okay, that means though that sometimes you don't know how to go with the flow. Sometimes it messes you up and you spiral when something on the agenda goes wrong. So you got to learn your strengths and your weaknesses. And that spectrum is an amazing way to get a grade, get an idea for where I need to grow, what I'm really good in, and the areas that I can shine, and the areas that I might need to work on. Okay. So practical, again, high neuroticism, you just need systems. Okay. You need things to be put in place. If you're low in it, you thrive in flexibility. If you're low in agreeableness, you're a natural at tough negotiations, okay? If you're low in agreeableness, you're like, nah, I'm gonna get what I want when I want, and there's no budge in this. And you know what? Sometimes that's really important, because there are some things in life you don't want to get bulldozed over, and you were made for that moment, and it's a really powerful, good thing. Don't let anyone tell you there's something wrong with that, okay? So the Big Five test will give you that spectrum for all of these different characteristics, and then you're able to see high and low. Great thing, okay? The second big one that we all know about is the Myers-Briggs test, okay? That is for communication when it's beyond useful, okay? Like when I need to figure out how to verbalize to somebody and actually get on their level, okay? So the most important thing that people have to understand, though, that is often misunderstood with the Myers-Briggs, is that it's not for labeling yourself or your type, okay? It's cool to say that you know your 4 letters, but it's not about the letters. It's about understanding how you process information, okay? Your goal is to find your decision-making blind spots, okay? So I'm high in extroversion, which is great, but that might also mean that I don't take enough time for myself, okay? Or maybe, like I said, I'm an ENTP, which is extroverted, intuitive, thinking, and perceiving, not feeling, and those things come together and they're great, but sometimes, if I'm perceiving instead of sensing or whatever else, sometimes I can feel too much and miss out on a situation that's happening. Sometimes I could be so extroverted that I'm missing out on the small nuances because I'm not taking care of myself. It goes back and forth, okay? Sometimes I'm not as discerning in certain situations because I'm not a J, I'm not as judgment based as I could be. It's a very give and take. That doesn't mean I don't have really great traits, and I love those traits, but it's also about figuring out my weaknesses so that when I go talk to somebody else, I know how to approach them in the appropriate way. Okay? So you use it to communicate better. Specifically at work, it's a big deal. So if you were something like an INTJ, you might need to ask for an agenda first. Okay, you might need to be like, hey, I hear what you're saying, but can you give me a structure on where we're going with this conversation or something? Because it'll make you feel better. And now you're communicating the importance of what you need without making the other person feel bad. If you are an ESTP, you might need to communicate that you need bullet points, not a 50-page report. Okay, that's a huge deal because sometimes people come in with all kinds of data. If we think about what it means to have this structure and everything else, and you're trying to get your point across and you want to be thorough and you want to show that it's research-based or whatever else. There are those of us, I'm in that category. There are those of us that do not want to see all that do not want to read all that. We want to trust that you did the work. I trust that you did your job. Give me the highlights of what I need and let's keep it pushing. That's pretty much how that works. Just keep it pushing. I appreciate what you did. I love it. I trust you. This is why you get paid to do what you do. So that's how you would use it. Specific Myers-Briggs is great at work, great with communicating with other people in that sense, okay? Another huge one is the Enneagram, okay? It's your emotional GPS. I love the Enneagram, okay? Me personally, I love it because I am here for EQ, okay? Your emotional intelligence is a big deal. And I love EQ because we live in a society that doesn't appreciate it and doesn't teach it anymore. And so I love any opportunity that I have to grow emotionally with people and with friends and to understand each other on that level. So the Enneagram is like a better version of Myers-Briggs for relationships, not for the situation you're in, not for work, but like one-on-one communication with each other, okay? And what's great about it is it's the only personality test that can actually predict self-sabotaging patterns. Huge deal. Okay? You could take this test and you'll be like, I see, I am continually doing this all the time because of this is how this thing made me feel, or this is a stressor that I had. And it goes not only into depth of why you do it, but amazing ways to overcome it, to use the strengths that you have to overcome this weakness, okay? So for the Enneagram, there are 9 types, but these 9 types, these numbers 1 through 9, go far beyond the stereotype, okay? You're not just an overthinker, or you're not just introverted or whatever else. I mean, these are things about feeling and power and aggression and fun and introverted, and whether or not you need structure or you like to think through things or whatever it is. Each type has its own specific characteristics that can be very much all encompassing, okay? But here's the big deal. This is what I also love about the Enneagram, is that it doesn't just give you your type, your core type. It'll give you a wing where you swing closer to the other edges. So you're not just a 1, you might be a 1 wing 2 or a 1 wing 9, okay? Your wings and your stressor numbers, i.e. the number you portray when you're not in a good place, are far more important than your core type. And the fact that they tell you these things, they tell you how to make it work, they tell you how to function with it, is beautiful. Okay, that's what makes it such a good test. That's what makes it so reliable, because it's actually helping us learn not only about ourselves emotionally, but how to interact with others on an important emotional level. It will strengthen your relationships in so many ways. I use it with my friends. It's great. My husband and I are constantly working at it. Like, there are things that you have to somehow meet in the middle emotionally, and this is such a huge help for how to get there, okay? So random tips that can come with it. Like if you're a 2, stop over giving for validation. That's a big deal. 2s are givers, but don't overdo it. 4s need space. They need some alone time. Let them have it. Stop over controlling them. 8s, I'm an 8. 8 needs directness, okay? I don't need you to beat around the bush and not tell me what's going on or X, Y, and Z. No, just give it to me straight. I'm happy about that. I'm not mad or anything like that. Just give it to me straight, okay? That's how the Enneagram can help you interact with not only yourself, but with other people and other relationships emotionally. Bonus tests, you can take the DISC, D-I test, or the Strength Finder test, okay? Both will stop you from fixating on your weaknesses and actually leverage what makes you weirdly you, okay? Stop trying to fix what you perceive as broken and handle the strengths that are actually there, okay? Because working on your strengths and empowering those strengths are more valuable and more powerful than fixing a weakness. You're not trying to fix a weakness, you're trying to grow in a lesser area, okay? And then this will help you adapt your style for different personality types, okay? Okay, I know I communicate like this, but I need to come through and do this. Like I said, for the Enneagram, I'm an 8. With a DISC, you've got like dominance and intuition and sensing and, again, conscientiousness or whatever. I can come across as a very dominant, intuitive person, like intense person. I can do it. And so sometimes with other people, I got to learn to reel that back, be a little bit more steady, you know, and be able to like, hey, let me communicate in a different way because I'm coming off really, really intense. So that's how all of these tests can kind of work together. Ultimately, the goal is to apply all that you've learned about yourself so that you can actually create a 3-step action plan. Maybe your plan has more steps, but 3 is a very simple, concise number, and that's what we're working with here. So first thing you want to do is triangulate, okay? You want to compare 2 or more of these test results and fit them together. If both show that you're in one area, then maybe that's something you really do need to work on. Again, we take tests and it line up, okay? Can you take the same test? Can you take multiple tests and it leads you in the same area? So an example is if you take both the Strength Finder and the Big 5 test and they show that you're low in conscientiousness, stop trying to force a 9-to-5 job. That's just not your vibe, okay? That's just, you might need a little more flexibility. You might need a little more give and take, okay? So we're going to bring multiple tests together and we're going to see where our strengths really do lie. Because again, you're more than just one test, okay? The second thing you can do is identify patterns and growth opportunities, okay? So where do these tests agree? Where do they disagree? And how do I come together and be the best version of myself because I've identified a pattern that I clearly consistently have. And that pattern has growth moments, but it also has weakness moments. And I want to make sure that I'm enhancing my growth while also kind of pushing up my weaknesses, okay? So again, if you're like high in openness and you're an achiever, maybe you create some creative challenges with clear metrics, okay? You might need to tell yourself that I need step by step, I reached this goal, rather than just being out there, you know? If you're feeling an anxious attachment, maybe build some systems, not just willpower, okay? You can't just power yourself through things. Sometimes you got to build a system up together. Like, multiple tests and the patterns will show you where you need to grow and what can be the best version of yourself. And then lastly, you create a rule book or an action plan, okay? So if you're looking at your career, you can say multiple tests that tell me that I need autonomy, seek roles with less oversight, okay? It can be that simple. Like, I just don't need somebody breathing down my back. So where do I find a job that I can be more myself? Whether or not it's a work from home job, something that's like an overnight shift. I don't know what it is. I'm simply saying, if that's who you are and that's what it shows you career-wise, pick a job that suits that. In relationships, if you score high in agreeableness, maybe you need to practice saying no. Maybe it'll help grow your relationships if you create a boundary. Maybe. Who knows? But I'm saying, if multiple tests bring that together, that's a great way for you to create an action step and moving towards being the best version of you. Okay. And then of course you want growth. If tests reveal impulsivity, like you're super impulsive, build in decision delays. Okay. That is me all the way. I can get up, make a decision and just go and be completely fine with it. But that doesn't mean I've always thought through everything, or sometimes I'm constantly thinking on the go, like I'm changing the plan as I'm walking through it and as I'm doing. Sometimes that's okay. And other times that was not wise, and it makes the rest of the people that are in my life absolutely crazy. It drives them insane because I'm just out here freeballing it and just living, okay? And that's not how that works, okay? So sometimes I have to set systems up in place to be like little mile markers, little check marks of like, hey, let me sit back and make a new decision here because it's going to slow me down. And the moment you slow down, the less impulsive you become, okay? So you just create growth opportunities. Learning to apply this knowledge is what separates the curious from the actual transformative. So ditch what Hogwarts house you're in, even though I am a proud Hufflepuff, okay? Just putting it out there. I'm a proud Hufflepuff. Focus on tests that give you superpowers. It's about growth opportunities, not labels. I know that was just a lot in 30 minutes. So if you want to go deeper, I offer not just a life coaching course on this, because again, as a reminder, I am an actual life coach. I don't just have fun, be a mom and whatever else and do a podcast. I actually have a job. And so I have a life coaching course on this, but I also have a workbook that is guaranteed to help you bring out the best version of you. Okay, so you can do the DIY course at home that I offer, so you don't just have to meet with me. There's an online course that you can take for yourself at your own time. Or you can do the one-on-one working directly with me, and both will walk you through each step, interpreting your results, and both come with the personality lift-off workbook that I was talking about. And the workbook will have step-by-step exercises, okay? No fluff, just practical tools. You can also purchase the workbook by itself on Amazon as well as on my website along with the classes. Okay, so you can do either or. You also have an opportunity on my website to purchase each personality test. Okay, there are 6 personality tests up there that also include the 5 love languages test. You can purchase them, and the reason why I recommend them and I purchase them is that each one of them will come with multiple pages, okay? Extensive pages on how to interpret your result. And when I say extensive, I mean the Enneagram has like 70 pages of what it means to be you. You can scroll through it, you can see other people, you can take the time to focus on it, you can do everything that you need to do when it comes to that. So you can also purchase that on my website, okay? That website is breathe-easy.org, or you can DM me on Instagram at breathe_easy_coaching. or on TikTok at lifecoach_Jasmine for more info. Okay, you can do all of these things. I want to see everyone be the best version of themselves, and I offer this opportunity not just to talk about it or to be about it, but I, as a life coach with my job, as what I want for people, I want to see people grow and be the best version of themselves when it's right there available to them. Okay, it's right there at your fingertips. Why not use it? Personality tests aren't about finding out who you are, but deciding who you want to become. And self-awareness isn't about putting yourself into a box. It's about learning how to break out of the one you didn't even know you were in. The most expensive test is the one you take but never use. So we're going to choose knowledge that moves us forward.
Remember, you don't need permission to be great. And this is your call to rise, to reclaim your power, and to step boldly into the life you were meant to live. I believe extraordinary potential lives in all of us. The dreams we've tucked away, the voice that was softened, and the fire that's been waiting to burn bright. This journey isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about shattering expectations and embracing your truest, most unapologetic self. No more shrinking or waiting for permission. The world needs your brilliance, your resilience, and your unique light. It's time to stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, I am more than enough. Your next chapter begins now. Let's write it with courage, audacity, and unshakable belief in who you are. The unstoppable person isn't born, they're awakened. And that person is you. Now go start your revolution. This world needs your unshaken light today.